Have you ever watched a giant aircraft take off and wondered how long it will keep flying? You would think that once an airline spends hundreds of millions of dollars on a jet, they would squeeze every possible hour of life out of it. But that's not always what happens. Sometimes an airline parks an aircraft that could still fly for years, leaving passengers and even aviation fans confused. So why do airlines retire planes early? Why do aircraft like the Airbus A380 and the Boeing 747 disappear from the skies when they are still airworthy? The answer isn't as simple as age or safety. It's a complicated story about money, fuel, maintenance, technology, passenger demand, and the ever-changing world of aviation. To understand why airlines make these decisions, we need to look at how airlines actually make money. An airline is not just in the business of flying planes, it's in the business of filling seats. A flight only makes money when enough seats are sold, and the aircraft burns the right amount of fuel relative to the revenue it brings in. A plane can be perfectly healthy and still be financially sick. Take the case of the Airbus A380. When it first arrived, it was celebrated as the future of long-haul travel. It was massive, luxurious, and impressive to watch. Airlines like Emirates embraced it, designing onboard lounges, private suites, and showers in the sky. For a time, it was the crown jewel of aviation. But not all airlines found success with it. Some carriers discovered that filling more than 500 seats on every flight was a serious challenge. If you can't consistently fill that many seats, the economics start to hurt. And with fuel prices fluctuating, the cost of operating such a massive jet becomes difficult to justify. The same story unfolded with the Boeing 747. Once known as the Queen of the Skies, it changed aviation forever when it first entered service. It made long-haul travel more affordable and connected continents in ways never seen before. But as time passed, airlines began to face a hard truth. The bigger the aircraft, the more it costs to operate. And when newer aircraft entered the market, the economics changed even more. Aircraft like the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and the Airbus A350 introduced new materials, lighter structures, and engines that burned far less fuel. These newer jets can fly long distances with fewer passengers, which means airlines don't need to fill as many seats to make a profit. Imagine you run an airline. You have a 500-seat aircraft and a 300-seat aircraft. The bigger one burns significantly more fuel and requires more crew and higher maintenance costs. The smaller one uses less fuel and can still fly nearly the same distance. If demand drops even slightly, the larger aircraft becomes a financial risk. That's exactly the dilemma many airlines faced. When passenger demand weakened during events like the COVID-19 pandemic, airlines were forced to ground aircraft. And when they looked at which jets were the most expensive to bring back into service, the biggest ones often topped the list. But it's not just about fuel or seat numbers. Maintenance plays a huge role. Every aircraft needs regular maintenance. The older a plane gets, the more frequently it needs checks, and the more expensive those checks become. Over time, components need replacement. Spare parts for older aircraft become harder to source and more expensive. Engineers must spend more time inspecting aging systems. Eventually, an airline has to ask a tough question. Is it cheaper to keep maintaining this aircraft, or would it be smarter to invest in a newer one? Even if the plane can technically fly for many more years, the economics may no longer make sense. Another factor that shapes retirement decisions is passenger expectations. Modern travelers want quiet cabins, better air quality, larger windows, Wi-Fi, and more efficient designs. Newer jets offer all of these features. They also give airlines a marketing advantage. People notice when an airline upgrades its fleet. When airlines promote new aircraft, they're not just showing off technology. They're signaling comfort, safety, and innovation. A newer aircraft can attract more customers, and that alone can influence fleet decisions. But there's another side to this story that isn't often discussed: airport operations and slot availability. Some of the world's busiest airports have limited space. When an airline has limited landing slots, it must make each flight as profitable as possible. A large aircraft might seem like the perfect solution, but if it's flying half empty, the airline loses money. A smaller, more efficient aircraft flying more frequently can be a smarter choice. There's also the issue of crew training. Different aircraft types require different pilot training and maintenance teams. Operating multiple aircraft types increases training costs and complexity. So airlines sometimes retire older aircraft simply to streamline their fleets. The goal is to simplify operations. Fewer aircraft types mean fewer spare parts, less training complexity, and easier scheduling. This is why many airlines today are focusing on modern twin-engine aircraft that can fly long distances efficiently. So why retire a perfectly good plane? Because perfectly good isn't always profitable. And profitability is the heartbeat of an airline. When you see an aircraft being retired, it doesn't necessarily mean it's broken or outdated. It often means the economics no longer work in its favor. It means the airline is adapting to survive. And survival in aviation isn't just about flying. It's about adapting faster than the competition. As technology continues to evolve, we will see more aircraft being replaced before they reach their maximum lifespan. Efficiency is the new battleground, and airlines that fail to adapt risk being left behind. But there's something bittersweet about it all. When iconic aircraft like the A380 or the 774 leave the skies, it marks the end of an era. Aviation enthusiasts feel the loss. These aircraft were more than machines, they were symbols of progress and imagination. Yet aviation has always been about moving forward. Every generation of aircraft builds on the last, pushing boundaries and reshaping the way we travel. So the next time you see a headline about an airline retiring a plane early, remember, it's not just a technical decision, it's a business decision, a strategy decision, and sometimes even a survival decision. And in the fast-changing world of aviation, standing still is the one thing no airline can afford to do.